Hour from ABC News. More tariffs are set to go into effect later this week on a range of items imported by the U.S. President Trump's calling Wednesday Liberation Day for U.S. businesses. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says he isn't worried about the swings on Wall Street.
The president has always said that the stock market is a snapshot of a moment in time, and he's doing what's best for Main Street.
Despite being up slightly for the day, the S&P 500 has lost 4.6% in the first 3 months of the year, its worst quarter in 2.5 years. Coming up, we have snow on the way tonight into tomorrow morning. The KSL weather forecast is next. Stay here. KSL News Time, 6:02.
It's true. Anyone can paint a room, a wall, the side of a house. It's also true that anyone can groom your pet.
Aw, poor thing. Is he sick?
Well, anyone can trim the trees. Anyone can coach.
Gina, throw it at that net thing.
It's Charlie, and I'm pretty sure you're supposed to kick the ball in soccer.
Just because you can do something doesn't mean you always should. And when it comes to your home, not everyone can paint with character, integrity, and the knowledge that no one will ever do a better job. And that's who we are. I'm Adam with 5 Star Painting. New paint in your home takes that warm springtime feel to a whole new level. With 5starpainting.com, we offer hands-on management, and our partnership with Sherwin-Williams means we're painting with the industry's best materials. Trust our 20 years of experience, over 1,000 online beaming reviews, and our 2-year warranty that sets us apart from all the others. Remember, anyone can paint a room.
My masterpiece.
Oh, wow.
But the smart choice is 5 Star or nothing. 5starpainting.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. What is the #1 reason people buy a hot tub and then don't use it? The maintenance. Arctic Spas is relentless in making maintenance easy with our automatic saltwater system. We call it Spa Boy because it's like having someone else take care of your spa for you all the time. It uses salt water, which is the more natural way of treating water, making the water more comfortable. You get no smell, no red eyes, or dry skin, just pure enjoyment. It's automatic because it has a sensor that reads the water and then automatically adjusts the sanitizer and the pH. You don't have to test and adjust the water yourself. You can even monitor everything from your Arctic Spa app on your phone. Now, get all the relaxing advantages of a hot tub without the not-so-relaxing maintenance. So for the most comfortable and convenient spa out there, check out Arctic Spas with stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George, or online at arcticspasutah.com. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account with built-in benefits. Here's Eric Butler.
We got a crash. This is over on US 89 going into North Salt Lake. If you're familiar with the area, it's around the Eagle Gate, Eagle Ridge Drive exits or the intersections there. And because the crash is blocking off a left lane, we still only got people getting by on the right shoulder. The delays go back for about 1.5 miles. You also have slowdowns on I-15 northbound from Rose Park up to the north interchange. Over on the 201 highway, westbound slowing from Mountain View Corridor, heading over to 7200 West and exiting I-80 in Tooele County. You've still got slowdowns on SR 36 approaching Stansbury Park and the Pole Canyon intersection. Don't miss Mr. Mac's buy one, get one for 100 suit sale. Suits starting at $299 in a variety of colors and patterns. Available at all 9 Mr. Mac locations with free alterations. Eric Butler in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast, maybe even a thunderstorm tonight. Snow comes overnight, maybe starting 3 a.m. A ½ inch to 2 inches expected, not on the roads, but on the grass. We're headed down to 32 degrees and then snow showers tomorrow. Right now in Salt Lake City, 52 degrees. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. Hello, Cougar Nation.
Top of the key, triple. Richie Saunders, 4th three-pointer of the night. Massive make.
Every Monday night, we break down the Cougars' last game and look ahead to next week. Cougar Nation, brought to you by Central Bank. Here's BYU insider Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
It's the season finale of Cougar Nation, and we're glad to be on board with you, BYU fans, here on just a great season of BYU athletics on Cougar Nation. We started back in the football season, which went on to have an 11-win campaign, 11-2, that carried over into basketball, in which they made a run to the Sweet 16. We are truly living in some of the best times, Mitch, that BYU athletics has ever seen.
That is so true, Matt. And it's an exciting time for BYU sports because they're in the Big 12 and everything seems to be in front of them. And nothing is holding them back from being a national contender in whatever sport it is.
Right.
And football and men's basketball kind of take the cake for highlighting the potential of BYU athletics. And it's great because the season was so successful for both teams, yet they go into the off seasons feeling like
there's more to be had.
There's more to be had, and we got done today with football spring practice. BYU men's basketball, of course, closed out its season last week in Newark. Saw Kevin Young and his coaching staff to recognize new women's basketball head coach Lee Kumar today. So it's been a busy day, but it feels like a little bit of this was kind of the unofficial end to the athletics season. There'll be baseball, of course, but for the big headliner sports, today kind of felt like a little bit of a close as they settle into the heart of the offseason.
It is the finale, the season finale, season 2 of Cougar Nation. This is your last chance to get on the phone line with us, 801-575-8255. What is your biggest takeaway from Kevin Young's first year as the men's basketball coach? We want to hear you. Cougar Nation, this show is for you, 801-575-8255. 8255. We'll open the phone lines and we'll give you our takeaways from a great season.
Cougar Nation takeaways. Mitch and Matt analyze BYU's last week of play and what it means for the next week.
BYU basketball season comes to a close, 113-88 in Newark, New Jersey, as they fell to the Alabama Crimson Tide. You know all about that, so we're not going to go too
We don't need
deep.
to rehash that.
We don't need to rehash those wounds that I like to think are getting healed as they get the transfer portal activities.
They're healing a lot faster after Duke blew their doors off.
Yes, and then you got Dominique Diomande coming in as a new
Bienvenue, Dominique.
Yes, I mean, you speak French. I fully expect you on season 3 of Cougar Nation to be holding down an interview with Dominique Diomande in French next season. But I think my big takeaway from Kevin Young's first year with BYU basketball as the head coach is he exceeded expectations in a year where the expectations were really high, and I think he exceeded all of them. I thought he did a fantastic job this year, and I just think that's my biggest takeaway when looking at year one under Kevin Young.
It's a good takeaway. One of my biggest takeaways is the proof is in the pudding in terms of what he is selling. Remember, it was about a year ago that he was inside the Marriott Center, and he said that he wanted BYU to be one of the premier destinations in college basketball to prepare you for the NBA. And you hear that, and of course you love to hear it, but you also wonder, how was that possible? We haven't put a guy into the NBA since Jimmer Fredette. It's been over a decade. Is this place really going to become a haven for development? Fast forward a year, his sales pitch is proven. he can sell a realistic vision to recruits now that if you come here, you're going to get better. You're going to play in high-profile games. We're going to go to the tournament. There's going to be a spotlight on you, and you'll have every opportunity to play professional basketball. That's no longer just a fancy dream that once was. That the proof is there. We haven't heard yet on some decisions for next year's roster, i.e. Yegor Demon, does he go pro? And Richie, does he go pro? And whether they return or not, it's a win-win either way. If they come back, next year's roster is going to be super talented, and there's going to be an opportunity to make a deep run in the tournament. If they go pro, that helps the program because Kevin Young and that vision of helping players prepare for professional basketball, he can sell that on the recruiting trail. His pitch is already working. A.J. DeBonsa's already committed. He's going to be in Provo and next month. So the pitch is there, but now there's tangible evidence behind what he's selling. And I think for that to have happened within 1 year, it's quite remarkable.
It truly is. And BYU finishes the year 26-10. And I thought it was just an incredible season for this BYU basketball program, which, of course, ended in the Sweet 16, and it ends a 14-year drought of not going to the second weekend. And I think my second takeaway, Matt, everything you laid out plus what we saw this first season, I'm very confident we're not going to be waiting another 14 years for BYU to go to the Sweet 16. Like you can never assume that you're just going to get back to these levels in an NCAA tournament because it's so hard to win games in that tournament. Look at someone like Baylor who wins an NCAA tournament title in 2021. They haven't got out of the first weekend since. So it is challenging. However, I think the way that they're building out these teams, the way that they're recruiting with the high school recruiting paired up with veteran transfer portal players and roster retention, to me, you're tapping in all the perfect buckets to make a really consistent program that can get to that regional semifinal every single year, or at least have a chance, be in the conversation if the matchups break your way. I just feel confident we're not going to wait another 14 years to see it happen again. I think BYU within the next 2 to 3 years can do it again. I think next year's going to be a great chance. BYU could be a top 15 team in the preseason polls next year, depending on how the roster breaks out. So I just think that there's a lot of momentum for BYU basketball heading into year 2.
Kevin Young is a young coach in terms of years. However, he's rich in experience. And one of my takeaways from this season was his ability to develop players is going to be a real weapon for this program because you can't assume every year, Mitch, you're reeling in A.J. DeBonsa.
Yeah.
They've never done it before. What we're going to be experiencing next year is going to be a first for BYU basketball. And you can't fall into the trap of, well, we've got Kevin Young and we're winning and our NIL funds are high and we're, to quote a booster in an ESPN article, quote, we will not be outbid. You just can't assume every year it's going to be A.J. DeBonsa. A.J. has already proven without having played a game for BYU, he's a different cat in a good way. He's all ball. He wants to be prepped for the league. Not every kid is going to want that. So you just can't bank on year after year you're going to get high-end talent. But what you can bank on is a Richie Saunders type developing into a fringe NBA player. You can bank on finding Mawut Mag in the transfer portal and him becoming a true 3-and-D. Because at Rutgers, he was all D but not a lot of 3. And then he really expanded his game to be a true 3-and-D player. You can rely on in-season Yegor Demon shooting so poorly at the start of Big 12 play. He found his way at the end of the season and shot the ball very well in the NCAA tournament and even the Big 12 tournament. So that development, which I think traces back to his time in the D League, that was the developmental league before the G League. It traces back to his time running pre-draft workouts with the Philadelphia 76ers and the Phoenix Suns. This dude can teach the game, and I think that is a valuable weapon for BYU.
BYU, some numbers on BYU this season. They're 23rd nationally in scoring offense, 81.4. I expect more of that of the same. Top 25 offense, I think that's going to be a calling card for BYU. Scoring defense, 72.6 points per game allowed, 197th nationally. You got to get better there.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how Kevin Young evolves with building out teams that are tougher on the defensive end. I thought they were tough this year, and I think they were underrated at times in games this season. But clearly, as you saw in the Sweet 16 and games, some even the second round where you play Wisconsin, they couldn't slow down Wisconsin at all. They could not shut them down in the second half. Fortunately for BYU, they were so good offensively that they were okay, and they won that game. But you've got to get better on the defensive end. I think that's one area that I'm really curious to see how Kevin Young evolves, because we've always known, since he's got here to BYU, his offensive background is just impressive. I mean, look at what he did with Devin Booker. His MVP years, or at least MVP caliber years, were under the watch of Kevin Young. Since then, I don't feel like Devin Booker's been close to an MVP level. So we know the offensive pedigree. Can he get it done on the defensive end and build out teams that can win on that side? Because we're seeing with Houston, who's going to a Final Four, defense can still win championships.
I think he can. There's two things on the defensive side that I think hurt the numbers. Number one, they changed their scheme halfway through the year. I think they had an idea of what they wanted to do, which stemmed from NBA defenses. But one, you don't have NBA talent.
Sure.
Which is harder to execute on the defensive end. And then secondly, it's the Big 12, baby. It's not ref the same. And I think there was an adjustment period there defensively. And then secondly, and I think this is a pro rather than a con, but he was very heavy into the youth at the start of the season. You were playing a lot of Yegor Demon. You were playing a lot of cannon catchings, oftentimes together. That's a lot of youth. That's a lot of freshmen playing ball. And then what happened early in Big 12 play to where things flipped? You played a lot more experienced guys. You insert Mawot Mag in the starting lineup. You get Dallin Hall more minutes. Dawson Baker started to see more minutes. Those are all old guys in college basketball. So I think he learned a valuable lesson there, which is, hey, you can play an AJ. You can play a Yegor. You just can't have 3 of your 5 guys at one time being freshmen. And I think you'll see, mark my words, Mitch, you will see in the transfer portal, it's going to be juniors, it's going to be seniors filling those last roster spots, because you need age and experience if you want to win.
Great point, because I do not expect he's going to turn to more high school freshmen. It's a big enough workload placed on Debanza.
Right.
And he's going to still have moments where he's a freshman, but he's a different tier of freshman even than a Yegor, and that's what makes him so intriguing. We've got to take our first time out. Cougar Nation sponsored by Central Bank, serving Utah County for over 133 years with trusted service, modern technology, and personalized care. Central Bank, proud sponsors of Cougar Nation this season. We appreciate them. We're taking the time out. We'll get to more BYU basketball talk, what's the latest with the portal, what's the latest with the roster for next year. We'll hit on that next here on Cougar Nation.
For over 133 years, Central Bank has been a cornerstone of Utah County, providing generations of families and businesses with trusted community banking services, and are more than just a bank. Central Bank is part of Utah's legacy. With 12 convenient locations across Utah County, Central Bank combines the strength of traditional customer service with the convenience of modern technology. Customized one-to-one service means you're never just another account number, and your phone call actually rings to a real person.
Hi there, thanks for calling Central Bank.
Voted best bank and best mortgage in Utah Valley, Central Bank is here to help you with all your financial needs. From top SBA lending services for small businesses and quick turnaround times on construction loans, they're dedicated to helping you build your future. Whether you're cheering for the Cougars or building your dream home, trust the bank that's been here since the beginning. Central Bank, strong, local, secure since 1891. Online at cbutah.com or any of 12 Utah County locations. Central Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with a Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Are you a small business owner who needs immediate cash flow? At Swish Funding, we have flexible funding options from $25,000 to $2 million. For the best rates and terms for your business, just one application to Swish Funding gives you access to our entire network of funders, with cash in your account in as little as 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000. Apply at swishradio.com and use code GROW. SwishRadio.com code GROW.
How many things affect your life as much as slow traffic and bad weather? Listen tomorrow morning for traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the nines on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back into Cougar Nation here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte with you. We appreciate all of you listening to this show throughout the football and men's basketball season. If you missed any part of the program, subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. It's always available, and, of course, on the KSL Sports app as well. So transfer portal's already off and running in building out next year's roster, Matt. BYU's got 2 players from this past team, Cannon Catchings, Elijah Crawford. Catchings probably the most notable, of course, because as we discussed in the previous segment, he was that youth movement early on. He was a key piece to that, and he's now portaling along with Elijah Crawford. Your thoughts on those 2 guys being the early portal entrants?
Hate to lose them because there's tremendous talent there. Both of those guys are 4-star level dudes. So Elijah Crawford, he was getting interest from the Florida Gators, who a lot of people have as becoming a national champion type. They're in the Final Four right now, so the talent is there. I just think in today's day and age, if you don't play, I think you have to find a way to play, because very rarely, I think, are guys getting scooped up who ride the pine for a couple of years. It's very hard in today's climate where there's over 1,000 kids in the portal. Think about that. Rosters are not that big in college basketball, and for 1,000 kids to be in there, a lot of those kids are not going to get picked up, Mitch. So if you just ride the pine for 2 or 3 seasons and then maybe you never break through, then you're kind of out of luck. So I don't blame Elijah Crawford at all for going into the portal, because you got to seize this opportunity, and you never know. This isn't. And I hate to say this, because there is a part of me that still longs for and wishes for the college basketball of yesteryear, where you could sit for years and develop and then get your chance as a junior and a senior. That's not guaranteed in today's college basketball. And so you have to play. You have to get film. And then on the point of Cannon Catchings, I think simply things did not go his way. Kevin Young moved in a different direction, and he probably feels like he wants a fresh start somewhere else.
The saving grace when you lose talented players like Cannon Catchings and Elijah Crawford is that you're in a great league with a committed program as far as resources and a great coaching staff, that you can replace those guys. And maybe, if Kevin Young can play his cards right, he can maybe get better in the portal, maybe more proven guys at the college level to add to his roster. But it's something that makes you happy that BYU is in the position that they're in the Big 12, because if this was in the WCC, Matt, it's brutal, because you don't replace talent like that. I think that's the saving grace here for BYU. Cannon Catchings, it was a difficult deal where, there was that one game. I think it was in, it was in February, but he barely played, and people were so panicked and thinking, why isn't he playing? Oh my gosh, what is going on? His body language is so wrong on the bench. What are we doing? And did he get hurt? And he gets asked in the post game by Kevin Young, is Cannon hurt? No, he just didn't play great defense basically, and we went in a different direction.
Yep.
I love that Kevin Young initially, hey, we'll give you the chance to be a starter. You got the talent, you got the NBA potential and measurables. Same time, though, you got to perform.
Yep.
And I like that Kevin Young was willing to say, you know what, I know you're an accomplished athlete, and you got probably a better chance than, 85% of the guys on this roster, 90% of the guys on this roster that could be to be an NBA guy. But guess what? You're not helping us win right now. We got to make a change. And I respect Kevin Young for that. And, it's a bummer that Cannon Catchings isn't staying, but you kind of saw it coming.
I think it's a mistake,
sense.
though, because you look at next year, if he were to put his nose to the grind and get better, there's no reason he could not be the starting power forward next year. And then you're playing on a team with potentially, we don't have decisions from Richie and Jaeger, but potentially. They haven't left either, though.
No, Jaeger was at the Annex today at the Lee Kumard press conference.
So let's just assume they come back, because that's very much on the table. Jaeger, Richie, AJ, Cannon, Keita.
Dynamite. That's big-time stuff.
It's big-time stuff, but that requires a certain personality to put your nose to the grind and to work. And a lot of these 4-star kids, man, they just have not faced a lot of adversity in their life, and you can't blame a kid for facing a little adversity and saying, I don't want to deal with this. I want a fresh start somewhere else.
Yep.
It's in a perfect world, you would tell Cannon, don't go anywhere. There's going to be NBA scouts here every day. You're going to be under a microscope in a good way. If you improve, you're right back in a draftable position. But that would require a lot of humility, and that's hard.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is that maybe you would have said, okay, he's going to go to the, a uniform program like a big brand, somewhere that's been a blue blood. But, BYU, if your goal is the NBA, when the number one recruit in college basketball or high school basketball this cycle is saying, I'm going to BYU to be the most prepared I can for the NBA, why isn't that good enough for you? Why isn't that good enough for anyone? So I just think that I wish there could have been some patience. Yeah, he probably got pulled around where he's only getting 4 minutes, but you got to understand that final month of the season where BYU really turned it on in March, he gets banged up, and that just happens. Injuries are part of the game. You start to get in a rhythm where you're going to turn the page, and they already had an 11-man rotation. They had to shrink it up a little bit, and I almost think the 10-man rotation was better serving to the team.
Yes.
So it just kind of became a difficult
because you got
spot.
more minutes with Hall and Dawson, and those guys were really consistent. Tournament aside, Hall and Baker had some struggles in the loss against Alabama.
Question.
But for the majority of that winning streak, the Big 12 tournament and the first two rounds, those two guys were good.
Yep.
And so how do you take minutes away from them to fit in someone who is very inconsistent offensively and has a lot of lapses defensively? We saw it in the Alabama game. He got a little run in the first half, but he was out of place defensively. And to your point, and I think it's a great one, I really respect Kevin Young for doing that because it'd be very easy for a first-year, first-time head coach in college basketball to say, I have to bend down to the top talent in the league. No, he cares about winning, and that's something that you can sell on the recruiting trail. Is, hey, if you come in and you ball and you fit within our scheme and do what I'm saying, you're going to play like Mowat Mag. You're going to have a big role, and if you don't, nothing's guaranteed.
And Mowat Mag, after that game against Alabama, he had nothing but high praise for BYU, and you almost got the feeling that he's a guy that almost wishes his whole time could have been at BYU because of the relationships he built, but also just the level of play and what he was able to showcase in the system that Kevin Young constructed. And the thing is about Kevin Young, too, is that I do feel confident that every year it's going to change a little bit. It's not going to be a set, this is how it goes, you got to fit to my system. He will adjust.
Yep.
He'll adjust to the personnel he has. I mean, I think with a lineup potentially, if you did bring back Yegor, and he didn't roll it out. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense in the world for him to, go to the NBA. But if he did come back, Yegor, Richie, AJ DeBanza, that's going to look a lot different than what they were this year. And Kevin Young, I can only imagine he'd be salivating at the idea of, building out sets for those three. And with Keba Keita's that rim rolling five, that worked out brilliantly. So I just think there's positive momentum for BYU. And look, they already replaced, I don't want to say replace, that's probably the wrong word because we don't know how it works out, but you lose Cannon Catchings, but then you get Dominique Diomande, former Washington signee. And I know there's, like Cannon, some mock drafts say, hey, maybe he's an NBA draft pick. We'll see.
Yep.
You got to get to the college level. He hasn't played a minute of college basketball, but, he's a foreign kid from France, played at a high level there, and under the radar, total sleeper, could be that next Mowat Mag, potentially. We'll see what he can become. He's a guy that can guard spots 1 to 4, and that's something they need because Mag did that in stretches this season where, you play West Virginia on that road game. You're not getting that defensive lockdown performance against Javon Small with Cannon Catchings like you did with Mowat Mag.
Yep.
Can someone like Dominique Diomande do that for BYU next year? We'll see. It's tough for a young guy, but that's going to be the challenge in front of Kevin Young.
Let's take a break. We'll continue breaking down a memorable season here on the season finale of Cougar Nation, and you can call in 801-575-8255.
Good evening, 6:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top local story this hour, it almost seems unbelievable. A local university is keeping its tuition right where it is next year for students seeking their associate's degree at Weber State.
The university University is freezing the tuition costs instead of going forward with their tuition hike next year for those getting an associate's degree. That's about half of their students who have fewer than 60 credit hours. Campus spokesperson Rachel Badali says this will save students about $135 a year.
Cost-cutting measures are happening across universities throughout Utah, but one thing we're trying to do is make sure students don't feel the effects of those cuts.
Badali says it's because they believe that getting an associate's degree should be just as affordable at four-year colleges as they are at community colleges. Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump says he wants to run for a third term. The president's team is looking at an obscure legal theory from 1804. To find a way.
But the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution says no person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice.
ABC's Devin Dwyer. There is that hurdle. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 417 points this last day of the quarter, but the NASDAQ today was down 23. Coming up on KSL, the return of winter overnight. The KSL weather forecast is coming up next. Stay here. KSL News Time, 6:32.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission. Free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Progressive Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Psst, honey. Honey! What? Shh, there's a salesman walking up the driveway.
Oh no, he's got a clipboard.
What do we do?
Get down.
Down?
On the floor, you...
Shoot, did he see us?
Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy, but with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Workdays can be unpredictable, but your workwear shouldn't be. With the Cintas Apparel Plus program, you'll have freshly laundered garments for everyone on your team delivered every week. Cintas has workwear for just about any job imaginable, with high-performance fabrics and an uncompromising fit that stretches and moves with you. Don't leave looking and feeling good to chance. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness, and Utah isn't immune.
With nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or some other form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. KSL has teamed with 988 Utah, the free suicide and crisis lifeline, to bring you hope and help you thrive.
If you or a loved one is experiencing a mental health crisis, call or text 988.
Because a healthy mind matters.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S.
taxpayer expense.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account with built-in benefits. Here's Eric Butler.
Well, it's been a much lighter afternoon drive home than most weekday afternoons, and even the accidents that we've had haven't been long-lasting. Right now, we don't really have any delays on the freeway. The accident that was causing the most recent delays was northbound, maybe you heard of it, northbound over on US 89 Beck Street, heading into North Salt Lake for a long time, blocking off all but one right shoulder. But as soon as that cleared out, all of the delays went away. So you're looking at a 30-minute drive from downtown to Ogden. If you're heading the other direction, it's a 40-minute drive southbound I-15 through Salt Lake and Utah counties down to Provo. Eric Butler in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast: rain turns to snow overnight. Expect a ½ inch to 2 inches on the valley floor. Probably won't stick on the roads. The temperature should bottom out at 32 and then snow showers tomorrow. Right now in Salt Lake City, 51 degrees. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Be ready for BYU Game Day. Download the KSL News Radio app to stream BYU games, plus breaking news during the week. That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Welcome back into the season finale of Cougar Nation. This is your last chance to sound off on a Sweet 16 basketball team, 801-575-8255. What was your biggest takeaway from Kevin Young's first season? You can also chime in on football, really anything in the world of BYU. You know, we discuss a lot of random things during the breaks. We've been doing Cougar Sports Saturday together now for 6 years? Coming up on 6 years?
6 athletic years, yeah.
Wow. And if you have enjoyed Cougar Nation and you don't listen to Cougar Sports Saturday, highly recommend this offseason jumping over to Cougar Sports Saturday, noon to 3 every Saturday. And if you're out doing chores or mowing the lawn or whatever, it's on the podcast feed. We put everything up on the podcast feed, Cougar Sports Saturday. It's a must-listen, must-subscribe if you like what we do here in Cougar Nation Monday nights. But we're talking about just how amazing this athletic year was, and is this the greatest athletic year in the history of BYU sports?
It's got to be in the conversation, Matt. I think that, you know, what was accomplished here in 2024, 2025 with football going 11-2, winning the Alamo Bowl, BYU basketball reaching a Sweet 16, that's some impressive stuff. And then you add the piece that you're in a power conference. The schedules are tougher than probably anything else that you compare it to. I still would probably lean to the 1980-1981 year as probably the number one year still, because you got to the Elite Eight from basketball. 1980, you win the WAC. You also win the Holiday Bowl, your first bowl win. It really was the breakthrough athletic year that put BYU on the national map. And it got you to think that BYU could be something big time. Maybe it's a little bit of that this year, too, where it's a new era. Setting the stage for BYU has you believing that they can do something big in this new climate of college athletics, but I still would put 81 probably a little bit higher.
I think 84 belongs there, even though it's mostly football-driven.
I was going to say basketball in 84, 85, they were 500. They were 15-14, didn't reach the postseason, but
football
national
championship. I mean, not every university at the Division I levels won a national championship in anything. So to win a national championship in what is now the nation's most beloved sport, football, that I think holds some weight for sure. But really, when you're looking at the full picture, Mitch, I don't think there's a fair contender to this year, because women's soccer, dang good, right? It's not just football and basketball. Track and field is elite right now. They have a great program under Diljeet Taylor. Volleyball has been so good, men's and women's, for so long. This is one of the most complete athletic programs in all of sport, and they have been for a while. It's just that football and basketball were not where you wanted them to be, and now they are leveling up. And so I think this was an outstanding year, and then you couple that with the the promise of what can be achieved in the future, because we're truly at a point in time. I think it's worth mentioning this, Mitch. When I was just a meager fan, I remember one of the hardest weekends of my life. And this is trivial. People actually have to deal with hard things. When I'm a single man, all I care about is sports. And in like a 7-day period of time, the Lakers lose to the Jazz in heartbreak, back when Kobe was on the team. Utah beats BYU in dramatic fashion. This is 2012. This is the doink, the opportunity to stick it to the muss, and they can't do it. And then shortly after that, they rip it up to Boise, Idaho, and they fail the 2-point conversion, all within a week's time. And I remember traveling back from Boise, talking with friends, saying, are we ever going to pay our coach top dollar? Are we ever going to put all of our chips in? Because it always felt like, and it was true for such a long time, that you were sort of exercising the benefits of BYU to get people here at a discount. And you just wondered what could happen if you went all in. If you said, this is what the elites in the sports are doing, we're going to match it. You don't need to be crazy. You don't need to pay a coach $30 million a year. But will you just be competitive with the going rates? That was a conversation you probably had with your dad many times. I had with my friends many times. We no longer had that conversation. And this is the first year where we're seeing the fruits of that investment. I don't know how you can't pick this year.
That's a great point. And you look at what's happening, too, on the recruiting trail for basketball especially. Football, though, is on the climb. You see Nasi Taumaipeau officially signed a 4-star edge rusher.
Ryder Lyons visiting practice.
He gets added this year. Ryder Lyons is in the mix with BYU. BYU's leveling up, and I think there was always this feeling that if they got that Power Conference invite, they will be able to unlock something. And I think NIL, too, was so big. And I know it's trying on Cougar fans. I think it's trying on every fan base because, to your point earlier about, I think wanting to go back a little bit in time with what it once was. I romanticize that a little bit, too, some nostalgia of just knowing.
The regionalness, the rivalries.
But, man, I'll tell you, NIL and having passionate fans like BYU does, like Cougar Nation is, it creates this opportunity where BYU can be a big-time player. And you know what? You might not have the basketball tradition like Duke, but guess what? You can go take down Duke to get recruits now if you want to, get your foot in the door. And the thing is that the difference between getting these players, you got to have the staff and the culture and the environment. And it feels like both football and men's basketball have that right now. And it's good times for BYU sports. And now the next challenge, though, Matt, is that
they got to break through.
They got to win titles. And that's the one thing about this year is that none of them won a title. Football and men's basketball. No one won a title.
You're meaning specific conference titles.
Conference titles, conference tournament titles. Yes, football won a bowl championship, Alamo Bowl. Sweet 16 feels like kind of like a championship. But
even then, we were down at the student-athlete building today having just an end-of-spring ball kind of roundtable interview session with a lot of players. And I remember this is a conversation we'll play in Cougar Sports Saturday. So, again, get out your phone, ask Alexa or Siri or whoever you have to get you to the Cougar Sports Saturday podcast feed because we got interviews with Jake Retzloff, Bruce Mitchell, Keanu Tanavasa, big-time starting caliber players. We'll be rolling those out in the coming weeks. Bruce told me, because I asked him, and I think it's a fair question, you probably asked this too, but how do you have the chip on your shoulder after going 11-2? And he said, dude, we didn't accomplish any of our goals last year. We did not play in a championship game. We did not go to the playoff. So 11-2 is great, but we fell short. So there still is a lot of meat on the bone for both of these teams, but you do have to love the direction they're going in.
Absolutely, and I think that's what's exciting, and it does feel like the beginning of a new era. You don't have to roll out the 1980s highlights to romanticize what BYU once was. You can now show young fans the great times are right now. And for a long period of time, maybe in 2012 when you were having that tough moment as a fan.
It was tough,
you're
man.
Probably like, I want to go back. I want to watch the 1980s footage. You're like, man, that's real grainy. It's been a minute. It's not HD.
Right.
But you don't have to now because, and look, you still got to respect the tradition. This is what got you here. Guys like Lavelle Edwards, guys like, Stan Watts back in the day in basketball. Like it all has a part in creating the successes today.
Yep.
But this new era has a chance to take off to heights that these programs have never before experienced. And that's what's exciting, and there's so much potential and growth opportunities for BYU sports.
It's well said, and it's just a great time to be a BYU fan. We're lucky to be here.
Cougar Nation sponsored by Central Bank, serving Utah County for over 133 years with trusted service, modern technology, and personalized care. We're taking our final break of the season. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you. We're going to talk more BYU basketball and football here on Cougar Nation on KSL News Radio.
Keep your home comfortable year-round with Golden Rule Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We live the Golden Rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. That's why we offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you're not happy, we're not happy until it's right. Golden Rule is the trusted standard for plumbing, heating, and cooling in the Salt Lake Valley. Visit goldenrulephc.com.
We obey the rules to live by. Golden Rule Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I need new rotors.
When you buy 2 Duralast rotors during our spring sale, you get Duralast brake pads free.
Free?
With the rotors.
Well, that's great. What if I need extra stopping power?
You can upgrade to Duralast Gold pads for just $10.
So Duralast pads are free?
Yep.
And an upgrade is just $10?
That's right. Part of the spring sale at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account. Plus, continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. It drove me crazy. It got so bad, I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't concentrate. I absolutely refused to let any of my friends come to our house for any reason. I would have been humiliated if anyone found out how much my dad drank and how loud my mom screamed at him. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful. The only thing that happened is my mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. Her relationship with my dad really changed. I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I wanted to see if I could have a better relationship with my dad. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-ALANON or go to alanon.org.
Dave and Debbie.
It's impossible to digest and consume all of the news that's now coming at us through either social media or through web pages or through the radio. Pick what is most impactful in your life and focus on that. And that's what Dave and I do every single morning. We pick those issues that are most important to our listeners and we boil it down so it's digestible. It's simple to understand.
I think we're trying to find the essence of the story. You know, you can't be an expert on all things, but that doesn't mean you can't be curious and really find out more and educate yourself and learn the complexities of an issue. But I think all of us start at ground zero on everything. Ask questions, show that curiosity.
And then if you need more research, you can always go to KSLNewsRadio.com and learn more.
Listen for Dave and Dejanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Cougar fans, use this radio station tomorrow morning for important news updates. Listen to Utah's most important radio station tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back in. It's the final segment of Season 2 of Cougar Nation, and it's sponsored by Central Bank. Shout out to them for being on board this season for a great Cougar Nation. We've enjoyed all the interactions with you BYU fans throughout the season, and going forward, we're pivoting to Cougar Sports Saturday. So not this Saturday because of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints General Conference, but the Saturday after that will be full bore into transfer portal for hoops, roster construction, and then we've got a ton of football interviews to get you ready for another fantastic season. NFL drafts coming up. That'll be interesting to see what happens with Tyler Batty, and as Jacob Robinson maybe put himself in a position with a strong Big 12 Pro Day. So the one thing I love about BYU, man, is that even in the off seasons, there's still a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, Jeff Kaplan earlier tonight, he's saying, you just put your feet up. Jeff, no. I'm not putting my feet up, Jeff. Come on now. No,
hey, we thought about putting our feet up last year after getting to the NCAA tournament, and I remember being at Disneyland. We were just talking about Disneyland. I am at the park, and I get a text, Mark Pope is off to Kentucky. I'm like, what is happening? What is happening? We were just at the tournament. It's all falling apart, and look where we are now.
Yeah, I think it all worked out for all parties.
Yes.
Kentucky, for Arkansas, for BYU, and
it didn't work out for SMU, though.
That's a good point. And the debate of which school leveled up will continue because all three of the ones I mentioned, they all end up in the Sweet 16, so the debate will continue. Oh, you know what? Here's a call out. Hey, Mark Pope, Kevin Young, bring together a scheduling agreement, please.
But it has to specifically be home and home.
Yes.
And it won't be.
It.
Kentucky won't come. Mark Pope won't come. I guarantee it.
I know. It won't happen, but, man, I would love to see it. BYU versus Kentucky. Be dynamite.
BYU, I think, is ready to do that type of stuff, but I hope that Kevin Young and co. drive a hard bargain. Like, this isn't 2009. We're not doing away and neutral at the Delta Center. Like, to me, you got to move on from that. You're a Big 12 team now. I think they're willing to do home and homes. They're willing to play in big-time MTEs. But none of this, we go to you, but then you come to Salt Lake. Like, I'm not about that, Mitch.
BYU basketball schedule next year, they will have Villanova to open up the year. It'll be November 5th in Las Vegas. That's going to be –
And then a one-timer neutral site, I'm okay with that.
And you know what? Cougar fans will fill up that building.
Oh, yeah. T-Mobile.
For the first game of A.J. DeBanza.
Oh, boy.
And a potential return of Richie. And if you somehow get Jaeger back and you – run it back against a Villanova team from the Big East, and they got a new head coach that comes over from Maryland. That's going to be so much fun. We'll see how all the rest of the schedule comes together for BYU basketball, but I have some confidence that Kevin Young's going to piece together some awesome matchups because I think even for him, he was like –
They won't do the non-conference like they did this
I think
year.
at times even he was a little bit like, this is what we're playing? Like, this is a little bit boring. Like, even he goes from coaching up the NBA, and then he's coaching against Florida A&M. Like, no disrespect to the Rattlers, but get this. Here's a fun stat from this year.
Disrespect the Rattlers.
But here's a fun stat from this year. BYU in non-conference played more teams linked to gambling scandals than they did Quad 1 opponents.
Wow.
Fresno State and Florida A&M are both linked to point-shaving scandals this season. They played more point-shaving scandal teams potentially than Quad 1. So I feel confident they're going to have a lot more Quad 1s in the non-conference schedule. When you get a number one recruit like DeBanza and potentially a tandem of him and Richie Saunders, yeah. Oh, by the way, A.J. DeBanza's in action right now. He's at the McDonald's All-American Dunk Contest. Dude just had a perfect 50 on one of his slam dunks. I asked him earlier today what he thought about the potential tandem between him and Richie Saunders. And he's like, Richie's got to make his decision. We'll see what happens with there. He noted that he hasn't had much talk with Richie, but said that he feels those two together could be, quote, pretty special. And I tend to agree. I think that could be some awesome two players that are highly physical. I mean, they're not going to lack for the physicality department. When you face a Houston, when you think physicality, DeBanza and Saunders are going to be ready for that challenge next year if they line it up together.
That potential pairing, because it's not guaranteed that Richie's coming back, though I think there's a good chance that he will, if you just think about it logically.
Yeah.
I don't see – look, at the very least, he should go test the waters. Go get an evaluation. Go to the pre-draft workout. There's nothing to lose from doing that. But he's going to be highly sought after with NIL. There's revenue sharing. He's a viral sensation with the tater tot. Like that's gonna bring in more money next year. It's gonna continue. So, if he does come back, though, the point I want to make here, Mitch, is all the more reason to keep a Yago or a Dallin because you need someone, preferably both, in my opinion, but you need point guards who are going to distribute. You got to run your offense through those guys. That's not to say Yago or Dallin can't score. You still need scoring at that position, but I don't want to limit any potential touches for those guys if you have a score-first point guard.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it'll be a lot of fun to see that schedule when it eventually comes out. For football, they're going to open up the season on August 30th against Portland State.
And then Frank Reich coming to Provo. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Stanford Cardinal, Frank Reich.
Frank Reich, it's kind of a weird deal. He's coaching 1 year, and that's it.
Yeah, it's his interim deal to help out Andrew Luck, who's I guess you could say the general manager of that Stanford program.
Yep.
And, yeah, they'll be coming to Provo, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Football's going to have heightened expectations. They're going to probably be, I would expect, a preseason top 3 team in the Big 12 next season. I think when the preseason poll comes out in the summer.
I don't think they'll be top 25 nationally, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I think they will.
Really?
I think they will. I think they'll sneak into the top 25. I think
they didn't have a sexy transfer portal class, though.
But I think that Alamo Bowl will kind of carry the.
I hope you're right.
It'll win the day, and they'll probably be that 23 to 25 spot. But because
that's a great place to start.
Yeah, I think there's room to grow, and I think the fear that a lot of Cougar fans have, though, when expectations get leveled up, is the fall coming, and is because. Let's call it what it is. BYU, I think, is better as an underdog. And I think that's going to be the theme of BYU sports next year is how do you take it to a higher level? How do you break through? Because this athletic department thrives as an underdog. They do great as an underdog. When no one believes in them, BYU just is always delivering. They always show up in a big way, with an exception being that Alabama game. But even that one, they were kind of a trendy pick.
Yep.
A lot of people were saying they're going to take down Bama. I said it. We said it.
Totally.
We were all buying in.
Yep.
So that's going to be just really interesting to me for both sports is just to take it to a higher level and actually break through because when you think about it, Matt, BYU basketball has not won a conference title since 2011. Football hasn't won a conference title since 2007. I know independence happened for a long time and to cause that big gap, but we're almost talking, 15, 20 years where you're winning conference titles at the biggest revenue-generating sports. Let's see them get it done.
They need to get it done. And really, switching the gears to football, if they don't do it this year, they're looking at some sort of reload, rebuild. I mean, they go out into the transfer portal and they add Keanu Tanavasa. If he has a good year, he's off to the NFL.
Sure.
Jake Retzloff, we'll see because of the JUCO element, but I think everyone's operating like it's his final season. Yeah. And then you look at Chase Roberts, it's definitely his final season, and there's a lot of other guys that it's their final season. So, to me, this is the year in which football's got to break through because they're going to need to restock the cupboards, so to speak. And so this has to be the year that they break through. The schedule is sort of breaking their way. I wouldn't call it a cakewalk, but you get Utah at home.
Yep.
You're not